Welcome into another edition of Steak, Bourbon, and Sports. As always, I am your humble host, Ari Temkin, along with my darkened co-host, Jeremy Mandel, who you can follow on Twitter at Jeremy Mandel. I'm on Twitter at Ari Sports, A-R-I Sports, and of course, you can always follow along of Steak, Bourbon, and Sports on YouTube, where we stream live every Tuesday night, youtube.com/Steak, Bourbon, Sports. Or on Instagram, of course, hit subscribe if you have not yet already, and give us a rating. Anywhere else, anywhere you think you could find us, you could probably find us.
Did you say darkened co-host?
Yeah, you're in a very dark, ominous room at this point.
My living room?
It's just dark. It's very dark.
Well, I'm in the process of moving, so it's a very odd place. Which brings me to the very first thing that I'd like to discuss with you. I got to tell you, I am officially inconvenienced by this pandemic.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
I know for most people it's been business as usual all year. For me, it's changing my life and has changed my life in ways that I'm uncomfortable with. Cheers. And I would like to speak to the manager.
Go ahead. I'll play the role of the manager here.
I had things to do this year and movers to pack up my crap and multiple trips to Las Vegas to make. And here I am as I reflect back on the year of 2020. I didn't do some of the things that I had wanted to do.
Wow. So, I mean...
Anybody else had this problem with this pandemic, or is it just me?
Think about how... and you... throughout all of this, have somehow still made a trip to Disney World.
That was fun.
To Four Roses Distillery.
That was fun too.
To Louisville.
Well, that's kind of the same thing, but...
Memphis.
No, I went to Nashville.
Nashville. I was going to eventually get there. I was going to eventually get to the right city.
The Johnny Cash Museum is not in Memphis, Ari.
That's a fair point. I believe there's somebody else, another rock star in Memphis. I can't remember who, but non-Johnny Cash.
Definitely non-Johnny Cash. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but I know that it's not Johnny Cash. Yeah, this whole pandemic, not really cramping my style. You know, for as great as that trip to Four Roses was, I had to go get a coronavirus test afterwards.
What are you up to now in coronavirus?
Like in total tests?
Yeah.
For the record, I'm undefeated. So I think, let's see. So there were the 2 times where I was actually sick and I just didn't have COVID.
One of those times I was convinced you had it.
Oh yeah, you were like telling everyone that I knew that I have coronavirus. It's terrible. Jeremy might die.
I'm happy you didn't.
Yeah, so I had a sinus infection. That was the first one. Then I got pneumonia, both times I got COVID tested. The Disney World trip and the Four Roses trip, I got tested after both of those. So I think 4. I'm 4-0. I'm 4-0.
I hope I don't jinx myself, but I'm at 0 right now at this point.
So you've probably had COVID then. You could have it right now. How would you know?
I mean, nobody else in my family has it.
That they know of.
That's fair.
Take that.
I am drinking tonight.
That's good. What do you got?
I'm drinking a bottle of some Elijah Craig. This is a single barrel selected by 107 Liquor from Rickhouse X, Floor 6.
Rickhouse X is where all the crazy shit happens.
Is it? How well do you know the Elijah Craig distillery?
Not at all. I just assumed that Warehouse X is going to be pretty crazy.
But I actually got this from a buddy of mine, Philip Slavin, who hosts a Big 12 podcast, and he lives in Arkansas, and he picked this bad boy up for me at 107 Liquor, and I'm trying to find exactly where this is located.
Awesome.
In Sherwood, Arkansas.
Wow.
Sherwood, Arkansas.
Which
is, it's about Looks like it's not too far from Little Rock.
So what's the verdict?
It's good. I just opened it and I've just sampled it and it's good. It's a 94
Good.
proof. It's a private barrel, private selected barrel, and it's funny because he lives in like small town Arkansas, and he listens to the podcast and was like, "Hey, you know good bourbon. What kind of bourbon should I get?" So I told him 4 Roses. You go to a liquor store, you're gonna get a bottle of 4 Roses. It'll be good. But then he got there and he sent me a picture of this bottle, and I'm seeing it's a single barrel private select, and I was like, "Yeah, get that one," because he's like, "Yeah, the guy at the store told me to get this one." I was like, "Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. Get that one." And then
Nice.
and then buy me one and send it to me, and I was like, if they do that again, because as we've talked about in previous episodes, if there's a liquor store that's getting single barrel selections, there's probably a guy that works there that is into bourbon and whiskey. So
Yes, somebody usually knows something. Occasionally, you'll get the rogue liquor store where they just got offered it by their distributor and they thought they could make a few bucks and they just grabbed one. But most of the time, if someone's got a single barrel store pick, someone there knows what they're doing. So it's a tremendous victory in my life that you know to look for that.
totally, it only took like 8 years, but I'm here. But shout out to Philip Slavin, the 1012 podcast. Awesome dude.
Yeah, Philip, thanks for that bottle of whiskey that I assume I'm expecting.
Yeah, yours is on the way.
Yeah, I'll check the mail tomorrow. Well, cool. Well, I would be drinking, except more than half of my whiskey is not at my house anymore.
Okay, so more than half is still a lot of whiskey.
Well,
You could
that's
say
it's also like
75% of your whiskey is at your house.
it's also like all the way over there.
So how much have you, now that you're moving? So for people that are following along with the show, Jeremy has a house in a really awesome neighborhood in San Antonio that he doesn't want to move away from, but it's a pretty small house. Is that fair to say?
So I bought this place in 2010. It was perfect for who I was in 2010, which was single guy with 1 dog. I am now a married guy with 2 dogs and a 4-year-old, a little
Suddenly,
smaller.
2 bedrooms, 1 bath, probably not big enough.
Yeah, but the location's great. We love the neighborhood, and since I got it in 2010, I got it for what in retrospect was a killer price. So we're just knocking the thing down, moving to another house for some period of time, and having a new house. Yeah, whatever X is, hopefully no more than 12.
No more than 12 months.
Yeah, so we'll see. But there will be a new house built on my property here. Unfortunately, for someone that hates moving and has successfully kicked that can down the road for years, Ari, how long have you and I known each other? When did you move?
8 years? 7, 8 years?
So I've at least been kicking this can down the road for 7 or 8 years. I know I was doing it before I knew Ari. So
I just had my 7th year anniversary. Yours was before, so 8 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's probably about right.
It's a lot of years.
Look, time is a flat circle, and we'll all be dead very soon.
Time is going so slow. It feels like it's been way.
So for someone that hates moving so much and was so successful at not moving for so long, I then signed up for a plan that's going to require that I move twice.
And well, I mean, you're moving the majority of your stuff into storage, right?
No, almost none of it's going to storage.
Oh my God, you are moving twice.
Yeah, I mean, why would I put stuff in storage? I'm the house I'm moving to is literally down the street. It's closer than a storage unit that I have.
Yeah, that's fair. And you'd still have to move twice. You'd move it to.
Yeah, so regardless, it's happening that way. So
yeah.
I have been, and another thing that I've learned.
By the way, do you see how badly I break out? Do you see this? You see my forehead and face? Look at that.
Stay tuned for more skincare tips.
No. It's like this weird rash that I get sometimes when I drink. I cannot describe it.
Oh, it's your drinking rash.
It's very bizarre. I don't understand it. I just get like splotchy red spaces all over my face.
I think
Very
it's
random.
best to just pretend that this is the only symptom and move on with our lives.
Fine, go ahead.
Nothing else could be going on with your body. That's got to keep drinking.
It's true. Just drink through it. That's what I found
Yeah,
out
there
when I
you
did
go.
this raccoon face
Absolutely.
thing.
Does it hurt?
It's no, it doesn't hurt. It's just a little hot.
That's very strange.
It's very strange, and it's random. It's not every time I drink, and it's not any specific alcohol. Very weird.
The human body is a mystery.
It is. And when I looked it up years ago, they said like, "Oh, it's common for Asian people." Okay, well,
So you got that going for you.
but I'm not Asian. Go ahead.
I don't know. Where was I before we got
The
into?
biggest thing about you moving is the fact that you have 500 bottles of
yes,
bourbon.
yes. So what
500 bottles of bourbon on the wall.
what I have learned about moving is moving companies. They all have liability insurance, in case they like burn your house down or drop a expensive TV or whatever. Their liability insurance does not cover them moving alcohol. So,
Meaning they can't move it, or
like, they will not move alcohol.
they will not. I didn't know if that
They-
meant like they'll move it, but if something happens,
No,
SO.
there's no. They just don't do it. Like, you have to move your own alcohol.
and traditionally most people don't have.
For many,
500.
the lady at the moving company said usually that's not much of an issue for people. And I said, sure, yeah, that's not an issue for me either. That's totally cool. I'm happy to do that. But yeah, I got a lot of liquor here. So what I'm doing,
It is an issue.
well, I didn't tell her that because I didn't want to be like, hey, who's going to the alcoholics move and handling that shit show? He's probably going to be drunk already when you get there. That would be an easier way to get out of moving some of these bottles, actually. But
Drink them all.
yeah, then you just put them in the garbage. It's empty bottles after that. Unfortunately, I would die. But
yes. Be a race to see what would kill you first.
Well,
Your wife,
But-
your organs.
but I would die with clear skin.
Would you asphyxiate?
You never know.
You never know.
So what I've been doing over the past 2 weeks, we've got this house that we've rented down the street from us. I got these 12 bottle foam mailers that fit nicely in a box, and you can fit 12 bottles of whiskey in there, and put them in your car so that you're not going to break them. It's all cushioned and everything.
You're moving your bottles 12 at a time?
Well, I have more than one of these.
It's 24 at a time?
No, it's more like 60-ish at a time. Or wait, is that? Yeah, that's a multiple of 12. I think I can fit 5 of those in the back of my car. So I drive over, I unload the 60 bottles, I bring the things back, I reload them. So that's what I've been doing with my life.
So, how many bottles do you... So this allows you to... We've done a previous episode where you said you don't want to count the amount of bottles you have. You have a lot.
Yeah, we determined at that point, and I'm not sure if the count is higher or lower now than it was then, but I, at that point, have exactly 100 unopened Four Roses barrel picks. I have more that are opened, obviously, and I have whiskey that's not Four Roses, obviously. But as we've discussed, I feel that one of the biggest problems in our world right now is the overabundance to our access of information. And I just feel this is information that I do not require. So while the point that you were about to make is correct, and this would be a really easy way for me to count liquor bottles, I'm going to pass on the opportunity to do that.
You're pretty good at math. You do it for a living for the most part.
Uh-huh.
So if you're traveling with 60 bottles at a time, and you're making X amount of trips.
Okay. Now there's something
I'm
here.
bad at math, and this seems like an easy math problem.
But there's something here that I'd have to introduce that in the math world we call a variable.
Right, the variables are amount of bottles and amount of trips you're making. Two variables.
Well, and there's also variables such as I've loaded 3 in my car and I'm sick of loading. I'm just going to drive these 3 over. That's happened a couple times. I don't know how many times, but it has happened.
When are you moving?
So we're having the actual movers are showing up a week from Thursday. So when this podcast drops, 1 week from that day, the actual movers are showing up. But
wow,
like
I cannot believe this is actually happening.
I know.
I've literally been talking about this for so long.
I'm so upset about it. I hope the nice thing about this podcast is I've now confirmed multiple times that my wife does not listen to it. So also, I can say things.
On the plus side, though, you do have a mutual friend, rebuilding your house, so you'll be able to hold that over. And I know this whole process for you that he's had to go through with Alamo Heights, it's been a joy for you to watch, and he does listen to this podcast.
That's true.
So I know you'll have a lot of fun with David Maisel as he goes through this process.
I have enjoyed and will continue to enjoy being a pain in his ass.
You and Alamo Heights.
So I have that to look forward to. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
So what percentage of your bottles is in the new location?
More than half, although what I'm discovering as I do this is I have hidden bottles from myself over the years. And as I empty out the areas, I'm like, oh, I bought 2 cases of that pick. So that's been happening.
That's amazing.
Well, what I do is, I part of this dumb hobby that I'm a part of is we literally send things around, and you might buy something, you might sell something, and that would require putting things in a box and taking it to FedEx or UPS and letting them deliver that. So to save what has turned out over the years to be absolute buku bucks, I just keep the boxes and the packing peanuts, and when I have to send something out, I just take one of those boxes and reuse it. It's eco-friendly.
I know you're very green. It's very important.
Always a priority. And it saves me money. So I keep these piles of boxes kind of on the back end of a corner of my house, which my wife loves. It's a decorating. Loves it. She's crazy about it. But under those boxes are more boxes. So it's like, well, it's just a more empty like box. So if I get
dolls of boxes.
Yeah, so there's boxes down there, and so if I get through this one, there's another box I can use if I need to mail something out. Well, it turns out that some of those bottles on the very bottom, I had forgotten about this, but they were all filled with liquor already. And they were all these 12 bottle shippers. So I was like, that's 48 bottles I was unaware of.
Is there enough? This is amazing. There's got to be at least 500 bottles. At least.
Well, unfortunately, we'll never know. There's no way to know. We're certainly not going to count them.
Are you going to have more cabinet space for these bottles at your rental house?
At the rental house, probably not. It's been an interesting little journey figuring out what I'm doing with all of this in a new environment. Mostly involving like me putting one bottle on a shelf and then going away for an hour. Then coming back and put 2 bottles on a shelf. And just like the whole time freaking out the shelf is going to collapse. Like I've got about 30 bottles of Four Roses on a shelf at this place right now. And I have actual anxiety that over at this house, the shelf is collapsed and there's valuable, rare liquor just strewn on the floor, glasses broken. I'm just terrified about this whole thing.
Well, the good news is you probably have another case somewhere that you hid from yourself of that same.
Well, I'll tell you, the good part of living in a smaller house is only so many places I could have done that. So I am running out of potential hiding locations. I'm assuming I never would have done that in my daughter's room. Because we have not started packing up that room. I don't think I would have done that, though.
No, you're not that dumb.
That seems extreme even for me.
Yeah. All right, well, good luck on that.
Thank you. I'll keep you updated. I'm sure all of America is very anxious to hear the thrilling conclusion to the Jeremy Moves saga.
I just want to know if you're at like 1,000 bottles.
No. I'm willing to guarantee that I'm not at 1,000 bottles.
How can you guarantee it?
Strong intuition. And I was always really good at that game, like guess how many gumballs are in the jar.
Did
I was
you
always
win?
good at that. Yeah, I've won a few in my day. There was I cracked a few Purim carnivals over my life.
Would you win anything big? Usually it was like pretty big prize if you could guess. Like
No, it was at a Purim carnival. Like prize was like $20.
I remember like
it was like $20 to the Temple Bethel gift shop. It wasn't even like actual money.
Can you explain to the 90% of the audience who have no idea what a Purim carnival is? What a Purim carnival is?
It's a really lame carnival. That's what it is.
Think of a carnival with
Think of a carnival, except it's staffed and run by your great aunts and uncles. Not your regular aunts and uncles, because they're too busy. They have stuff going on. It's run by your great aunts and your great uncles.
Hey, so who's going to be the new Texas football coach? Do you have any idea? You might have some information for me.
I have no information for you, but I do feel
you have sourcing on this. This is the one thing you have sourcing on.
I have other sourcing too. Gary Neal signed for 1 year and $3 million.
That didn't happen. It was inaccurate sourcing. Is it going to be Urban Meyer?
I don't think so.
Why? What have your sources told you?
Well, my sources have told me nothing. I need to be very clear about that.
So as to protect your sourcing?
Yeah, I have, for a journalist such as myself with one whole source, you can't blow the one source. But
it's going to be Urban.
You really think so?
Yeah, I do.
While I do believe that Urban Meyer has no morals or soul, it has been brought to my attention that he could have some issues replacing his former assistant.
Tom Herman?
Yeah.
Like he would have ish. I don't think that. If anything, I think he would love that.
Well, yeah, that's because he's a terrible person. That's true.
But he's been outwardly criticized. I think there is some drama there between the two of them that he would be happy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And I have no inclination about that other than the fact that Urban Meyer has multiple times on Fox coverage ripped Tom Herman to shreds.
Really?
Yeah, and I just feel like there's probably some bad blood there that Urban at this point is I want the Texas job just so I can win a national championship in Texas and stick it in Tom Herman's face. That's how he's ruthless. He is a ruthless killer, and Texas fans are going to benefit from it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The interesting thing that I thought about when A&M paid Jimbo Fisher all that money is I know it was $100 million or something like that.
It was $11 billion.
Yeah, it was 9 figures. I thought, I wonder how long he'll be the highest paid coach in Texas.
Yeah, right.
Turns out the answer is 2 years.
What's funny is I'm not a Texas fan. I don't root against them. I'd like to see them win, but I have talked so much crap to Aggie fans over the years that I have random Aggie fans tweeting me things even now. There's a guy that I just saw tweeting me about something little brother, and it was because I gave him a little brother hashtag. But it's I don't even like Texas. It's just,
I'll tell you. I do the same thing. I have never had an affiliation with the University of Texas. I do think that life in Texas is better when they're good. But I also give Aggies far more crap than Longhorns. You know why? Because they hate it.
Yep.
If you ever give UT fans crap about UT, they'll just be like, yeah, whatever. Aggies, if you calling them, they changed conferences to stop being called little brother, and still can't stop being called little brother.
They literally changed conferences.
Like they're a top 5 team in the nation, I think, getting called little brother.
And this
just
is their,
delightful.
This is their best season in a long time.
Now, do you know what my extensive education on Aggie history tells me?
What?
It tells me that something spectacular is about to happen for Aggie haters. I don't know what, but it's going to be one of those things that we put in montages in like 20 years.
I mean, the thing is, they already the only loss they have this year is to Alabama. It's the only loss they're going to have this year with this, like, and the SEC. These conferences that don't have each team playing each other every year is stupid. But so they played like, I would say, a okay schedule. It's an okay schedule. They have 1 loss to Alabama, and they're not going to play in the SEC championship game because of it. And I mean, I guess they could potentially backdoor their way into the college football playoff, but I doubt that would happen. I don't know that I see any scenario in which they would. So it's like, here's their best season in decades, and they're still not going to win an SEC championship or play for college football playoff. Wah, wah.
Little brother. So, fun fact that I just thought about. It's the beginning of December. I'm an alum of the University of Arizona. It's the beginning of December, and I'm not sure if the football team or the basketball team has played more games.
Which one is it?
I'm not really sure. I think it's 2 games to 1, maybe.
What? Have they played a basketball game yet?
They have played 1 against Grambling State.
They win?
Yeah, they pulled that one out.
And then football has played
UCLA, and I want to say one other team.
Wow, you're a big fan. They lost to USC, Washington, and UCLA.
I was a big fan. I was off 1 game. I forgot the Washington game. I remembered the USC game.
It was a close loss.
But this, I've been doing a lot of COVID reflecting.
Okay.
And it's led me, and specifically lately, to the NFL's administration of COVID. So occasionally we like to have these little segments on the show where, like, Jeremy, the sports idiot, asks Guy, who does this for a living, what the hell's going on.
I love it.
So here's something I've been wondering. Tell me why I'm dumb. It seems like the NFL is bending over backwards to make sure that the Baltimore Ravens get this game against the Steelers, while at the same time, the Denver Broncos just played a game with no quarterbacks. And it was a total farce. And, like, it was really fun to watch for like 10 minutes, and then it was some of the worst stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah. It was like, oh, this will be
Help me
fun.
reconcile
and I was
this.
like, oh no, it won't be fun. This is not
Like,
fun.
I've just been informed that because the Ravens are on the Cowboys schedule, I now have to watch a Cowboys game on a Tuesday.
Tuesday night, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like the NFL is seemingly moving mountains for the Baltimore Ravens, who I think also did not follow protocols. Meanwhile, no Denver quarterback was allowed to be in the game. And there was no effort made to change the scheduling. There was no effort made to do any of that stuff. They just said, well, Denver, sorry, you're screwed. And by the way, I could give a damn about the Denver Broncos. I care about the Broncos to the extent it gives good South Park material.
Well, and they have South Park characters sitting in the stands, which is amazing.
Yeah, that was cool.
So the answer to that question is the Broncos just missed one position group. Happened to be a pretty important position group that they were missing.
You're saying that, like, in the same way I would say it, like, if they didn't have any punters.
Well, right. I mean, the thing is, the Ravens are still going to be missing a lot of players when they do play. Like, they still have positives coming in. So, like, I think there's a report that came out today.
Like, still now?
Yeah. Like, there's, like, another positive, like, another couple positives. So, like, they're going to play on Wednesday against the Steelers with a limited roster. I guess the positive is, though, that will not include Lamar Jackson, who will at this point be okay to play, even though he did come down with COVID. And, I mean, I think the big thing about that was why they had to move mountains to move the Ravens game was because, like, they couldn't field the team. Like, they wouldn't have had players to play. Whereas the Broncos, and certainly there's a responsibility on the Broncos quarterbacks, which they've now, like, acknowledged or whatever.
But we're sure that, okay, you three Broncos quarterbacks are at risk of having it. I don't think any of them actually, well, no, one of them did. But you guys had no interaction with the rest of the team, so the rest of you guys go play. We're sure of that? That strains credulity to me.
Yeah. I have.
And by the way, I feel like you're struggling to give me an answer. An acceptable answer is Roger Goodell sucks.
Or
I would accept that answer.
The NFL is the Illuminati, and they apparently have magical powers that I didn't know that we could be possible. Because you would think, well, you've got to cancel a game here. You just have to.
And it reminds me, you and I have a long-standing theory on medicine that is the cure for all diseases is money.
Which is true.
So,
this is
we've talked about this before. And I was reading today about like how the NFL can predict who's going to be infected based on like the particular strain of COVID, and they have figured out that some people's genetics will allow that to be caught, and some won't. The NFL has figured this out.
Yes.
And here we are, traipsing around in masks and gloves and whatever.
Spraying our heads, sanitizer.
Yeah, I mean, I had to go to a funeral today. I got doused with sanitizer, like on the way in and out, like with like gross, stinky sand, like not Purell, like just like
the
liquid,
sticky
it's
stuff.
not a gel.
Like
it's just
it's
it's just liquid. It's not even gel. It's disgusting. Meanwhile, the NFL knows what particular strains of COVID I might be most able to catch or not catch based on my genome sequencing.
It's like the Minority Report. Like you're gonna get COVID, so it's really like that. It's like they're predicting the future, and that's what I'm saying. Like, just better said, they're the Illuminati. They have the money to basically, because the thing is, it's an investment worth making for them, because if they play every single game, they don't have to forfeit any of the money from the TV money, which they're losing money from Gates and all that stuff, but the majority of the money they make revenue-wise is from TV money. And
I think I may have just figured out a way to solve this whole problem. That being COVID.
Right.
So these TV deals generate so much money that it has motivated them to figure all this stuff out so that they can keep getting the money from the TV licensing.
Well, they hired scientists to figure it out and pay them a bunch of money.
Yeah, with the money that they got from the TV licensing.
Right.
So how much do you think C-SPAN is paying for the rights to air the government stuff?
Not enough.
I think they should put that out for bids.
You think that stuff will garner
the
TV
reason
money?
The reason that COVID hasn't been solved is that the United States government TV deal is not nearly substantial.
I'll tell you something. If Trump would have done anything in 4 years productive, that's something he should have done.
And this is an idea that he would have been all over.
All over. This is Trump's.
Put a camera in the Oval Office. NBC will pay me $500 billion just to air it every night.
What could possibly go wrong?
Tonight on Trump in the Oval Office, Nancy Pelosi comes in to negotiate a COVID deal.
That'd be so amazing.
We would have made so much money.
He'd have like a trap door installed.
The NFL would be asking the United States government for help in dealing with this problem because we would be so far ahead of them with the United States government TV deal. I have heard, though, that the next season of U.S. presidency might be less interesting.
That's Jeremy Mandel on Twitter at Jeremy Mandel. I am Ari Temkin on Twitter at Ari Sports. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you have not yet already. And, of course, give us a rating. Because, well, we're asking. And it's all we ask.
We've really come up with lots of good reasons to give us that rating.
Give us a rating because...
Come on.
Come on. What else
What else you doing?
Come on. You're already here. You might as well give us a rating. Make sure it's 4 stars or 5 stars or whatever the most stars you can get. I think 5. 5 sounds adequate. 5 is good. 5 is good.
I want all the stars, and as we talked about last week, comments praising me and insulting Ari will be looked upon most favorably.
You might even end up with one of those bottles of 4 Roses.
You never know.
From the pick. All right, Jeremy, leave the people with something.
Get out of my house.